easygoing label. There are no contracts involved. I just can do whatever I want. I've got like carte blanche or something. It's completely free system. So that's very nice to work with.
From Scheveningen, it was just a few minutes to The Hague, where Guy Tavares runs his Bunker Records label, and is also one half of Unit Moebius. The label evolved in 1992 out of the squatting scene, which Tavares still belongs to. The cult label Acid Planet, on which Funkstörung among others released their first albums, also grew out of the Bunker home base. Guy Tavares talked about Bunker, the squatting scene in The Hague, and illegal parties.
I'm setting up an artificial city-state within 25 years in the North Sea, so about 100 kilometers before the Dutch coastline. Made with Dutch technology, it's the cheapest way, and of course the North Sea is not so deep, so it's pretty, realistic. I have my own state, nation-state. It's Heliopolis. If you know your classics, that's Greek for Sun City, and it's the part of the Logopolis project, where basically humanity has to end up in the humane and rational metropolis to make sure he will survive this planet. We're in The Hague. It's along the coast. So I have to start somewhere. And at the moment I'm pretty unknown underground, so that's where I am, underground. The dwarf parties here are very notorious, of course, for all things small and illegal outside the law. That's why usually I can't publicize in the city about these black dwarf parties. The police will raid the place and beat the shit out of everyone. But still, it's a lot of fun, of course, with these little tiny black dwarfs. There's free LSD, of course.
The experiment stimulates the brain with radio waves and thereby controls behavior.
I have a record label. It's called Bunker Records, of course. It's the same underground atmosphere as here. It's all obscure codes, basically. The music is only machine music, and it's all in codes. As you have to, communicate in all secrecy with all the other freaks. That's why it's in codes. Bunker already exists since '92, when we started doing underground parties in squats, in cellars. And then we started making music under the name of Unit Moebius, which was basically the first industrial techno in Holland. And also due to the bad sound system we had, everything started to distort, and then we actually started liking it. So we sort of distorted the music on purpose, and therefore, made a new genre of industrial techno.
En de tanks reden de zojuist bevrijde stad binnen over de Napoleonallee. De Napoleonallee, notabene.
Later on, say from '98, I started to do more electro music, and then Lego Welt came into picture. And I think nowadays he's the most known artist on my label. Lego World has this typical Deutsche Krimi Autobahn atmosphere. Say it could be a soundtrack on an old Derek television program from the 70s or early 80s. Well, Derek, you know, the last program he ever did, the last issue he ever did from the series, the reason why it stopped, according to the story about Derek, is that he got a job at Europol. And Europol is in The Hague. So, which means Derek now lives in The Hague. There's no other option. Around 92, we started with a group of freaks doing parties in squats in The Hague. It was, of course, inspired by the 80s acid house from Chicago, which had a little hype in 88 in Holland, but then in 89 it just completely vanished. And we wanted to sort of get that back again, that atmosphere with dark space, with only light, with a stroboscope and a smoke machine, and this dark, trippy, comatose music. You know, these dark secret codes that would go on and on and on all night long. So we just decided to do it ourselves in squats, because that's the only way you can do it. And there's a big squat scene in The Hague, and that gave us the opportunity to do these parties with the right dark atmosphere, and also just to do it because any other legal club wouldn't be interested in it. When we set up these parties, we also started making our own music, inspired by the Detroit techno and Chicago acid scene. So we could also play our own music on these parties. And gradually we had money by selling LSD on these parties to release our first records. So that's how it started. And then soon there were more people getting into the scene, started making music or setting up their own sound systems. And we started with the Acid Planet sound system, and very soon, within 2 years, there were like all over the city, there were industrial techno sound cities in squats doing parties, and also people starting out their own labels and making music. So it basically exploded into a whole scene of freaks that were into it. There's still a big electronic underground scene. I think it's actually bigger than ever. There's a lot of artists and a lot of labels, but it's also, which is logic, in the beginning there was only one scene. Everybody came together, and now it's sort of evolved into different sub-scenes, all in their own genre. That's apparently a natural development or evolution. I still live in the squat scene, and it's very important because it gives me the freedom to do all these things. You know, I mean, space in Holland is very limited and very expensive, and if you want to do underground. If you want to make a living of a underground cult thing, you wouldn't be able to pay the rent, and because there's so much squatted space in this city, it gives me the opportunity to make it possible to make a living out of something pretty freaky. See you later.
Bye.
Tjus.